The first scream echoed through the concrete hallway, followed by the sharp clatter of metal. Inside the solitary unit of a federal penitentiary in Texas, chaos had erupted. 2 correctional officers lay injured on the floor, one bleeding from a deep gash near his neck, while the other gasped for air. The alarms wailed through the blocks as red lights flashed above every steel door. But amid the confusion, one inmate, known only as Lance Carter, stood frozen, staring at the pool of blood spreading toward his shoes. He wasn't part of the fight. He had started it. Moments earlier, Carter had whispered something to another inmate, just 3 words that set off a chain reaction. Now, as guards rushed in with batons drawn, he kept his head down, acting scared, playing his part. Deep down, he knew every second of that chaos was being recorded, not just by the prison cameras, but by someone far more dangerous, federal agents watching from outside. This was not an accident. It was a setup, a sting. Carter had been given a deal, a chance to shave years off his sentence by helping expose a powerful smuggling ring operating inside the federal prison system. Drugs, phones, and weapons were being moved under the noses of correctional officers with the involvement of outside gangs and, shockingly, even prison staff. His job was simple on paper: earn their trust, get evidence, and live long enough to tell it. But nothing inside a federal prison is simple. 3 months earlier, he was just another inmate serving 15 years for armed robbery. Then an FBI agent named Sarah McKenna showed up during visitation, sliding a folder across the table. Inside were photographs of guards exchanging money, and one particularly chilling image: Carter's younger brother meeting one of the smugglers outside the facility. "Help us," she'd said, "and we'll help your brother."
Now, as Carter watched the riot unfold, he realized how deep the plant had gone. The staged fight had been designed to move him into the special housing unit where the ring's leaders were held. But something wasn't right. One of the guards, who was supposed to fake the chaos, wasn't moving. The blood wasn't fake. The intercom crackled and a voice shouted, "Lockdown! Everyone down now!" Carter dropped to the ground, his pulse pounding. His hidden mic buzzed faintly against his chest, confirmation that the FBI was still listening. Yet deep inside, fear started to settle in. He had crossed a line he couldn't uncross. The guards were bleeding, real or not. If the others found out he was working with the feds, his life wouldn't be worth a day. As the cell doors slammed shut and the sound of boots echoed closer, Carter whispered under his breath, "You better be hearing this, Agent McKenna." But no one answered. The prison went silent except for the hum of the lights and the faint drip of blood on concrete. Then, through the glass slot of his cell, a shadow appeared, tall, still, and watching him quietly from the other side. Carter's stomach turned cold. The figure didn't move or speak, but he knew that face. It wasn't an FBI agent. The lights flickered twice before plunging the entire block into a dim red emergency glow. Carter could still see the silhouette standing outside his cell. It was Warden Hensley, the man everyone in the prison feared but no one spoke about. Hensley was known for running things his own way. Prisoners who crossed him disappeared into solitary for weeks, sometimes months. Yet tonight, his calm stare felt different, calculated. "Quite the mess you've made, Carter," Hensley said quietly, his voice smooth but sharp. "2 officers hurt, an entire unit locked down, and you just happened to be right in the middle of it?" Carter swallowed hard, trying to mask the tremor in his voice. "Wasn't me. They jumped each other. Hensley raised his hand. "Save it." He glanced toward the surveillance camera in the corner and gave a subtle nod. The red recording light blinked off. "Now we can talk." For the first time, Carter realized the warden knew. Not everything, but enough. "You think I don't know about your little deal with the Bureau?" You're not the first snitch they've sent in here. The last one didn't last long enough to report back." Carter's chest tightened. The mic hidden under his shirt suddenly felt like a ticking bomb. If Hensley knew, then someone had leaked the operation. The question was, who? Before Carter could answer, the warden slipped an envelope through the slot in the door. "This came for you. Thought I'd hand deliver it." Then, with a faint smirk, he turned and walked away.
Carter hesitated before picking it up. The envelope was unmarked, sealed with tape. He tore it open and froze. Inside were 4 photographs, each one showing him in different parts of the prison, talking to specific inmates, passing notes, and even one shot that clearly showed the edge of his recording wire. Someone had been watching him closely. His mind raced. The FBI promised the sting was airtight. The agents told him no one inside would know. But now, not only was his cover blown, the warden had evidence they could get him killed within the hour. Carter crumpled the photos and shoved them into his jumpsuit pocket, his breathing quickening. He needed to contact McKenna, fast. But the line they used was a secure phone in the laundry room, and lockdown meant he was trapped until morning. Hours crawled by. The only sounds were the faint footsteps of guards and the distant clang of doors. Carter stayed awake, staring at the ceiling, trying to piece it together. Someone inside the bureau had to be leaking information. That was the only way Hensley could have known. By dawn, the cell doors opened one by one. A guard called his name. "Carter, laundry detail." It was the chance he needed, but something felt wrong. The guard's voice didn't match the one usually on shift. Still, Carter played along, walking down the narrow hallway toward the service area. As soon as the door shut behind him, a bag was thrown over his head. He was dragged, his hands bound, and shoved into a supply closet that smelled of bleach and old uniforms. When the hood came off, 2 men stood in front of him. Neither wore prison uniforms. One flashed a badge. "FBI, you've been compromised. We need to move you now." Carter blinked, confused. Then what the hell was Hensley doing in my cell? The taller agent leaned forward. "That's what we're trying to find out." Before he could ask more, the agent's phone buzzed. He looked down and his expression went pale. "It's too late," he muttered. The other agent turned toward the door, gun drawn. "We've got company." The door burst open, and standing there, calm and smiling, was Warden Hensley. For a split second, no one moved. The room filled with tension so thick it could crush bone. Hensley's boots echoed as he stepped inside, eyes calm but ice cold. The 2 agents raised their weapons, shouting commands, but the warden didn't flinch. "Put the guns down," Hensley said evenly. "You don't know who you're pointing them at." The taller agent barked back, "You're interfering with a federal operation!" Hensley smirked. "Oh, I'm not interfering. I'm ending it." Before anyone could react, 2 correctional officers appeared behind him, both armed with shotguns. Carter's heart pounded. He looked from the FBI agents to the warden, everyone tense, fingers trembling on triggers. One wrong move, and the whole room would explode. Then, Hensley dropped a small black USB drive on the floor. "That's every recording your people made in my facility. Intercepted, copied, and traced back to your agent, McKenna." Carter's blood ran cold. "No," he whispered. "She's the leak," Hensley said, his voice calm, deliberate. "And she's been working with us the whole time." The agents froze. The shorter one looked at his partner, realization sinking in, but it was too late. The sound of heavy boots filled the hallway. Dozens of guards poured in, surrounding the room, weapons ready. Hensley turned to Carter. "You were a pawn, son. Useful, but disposable. Did you really think the Bureau could outplay me in my own house?" Carter's pulse thundered in his ears. Betrayal. Every word, every deal, a setup from the start. McKenna hadn't saved him, she had used him to expose the very people she wanted gone. The FBI's own double agents who were secretly protecting the smuggling network. Gunfire shattered the moment. The taller FBI agent went down instantly. Carter hit the floor, covering his head as bullets tore through metal and concrete. The lights burst, plunging the room into chaos. Through the smoke, he saw the warden retreat toward the hallway, calm as ever. Carter crawled toward the fallen agent, grabbing his sidearm. He couldn't trust anyone anymore. Not the FBI, not the guards, no one. He ran through the back corridor, alarm screaming again. The sirens echoed just like the first night the sting began. He kicked open the door that led into the loading dock. Outside, through the blinding daylight, he saw black SUVs, more agents arriving, SWAT teams flooding in. Someone shouted his name over a loudspeaker. "Carter, on the ground now." He hesitated. For a second, he thought about surrendering, about ending this nightmare. But then, through the chaos, he spotted her, Agent McKenna, standing by one of the SUVs, hands behind her back, escorted by 2 agents. Her eyes met his, cold, emotionless. She gave him a small nod, not of comfort, but warning. He turned and ran. Bullets whizzed past as he sprinted toward the perimeter fence. The chain links rattled as he climbed, fingers slipping on the metal. He felt the sting of barbed wire slice into his palms, but didn't stop. The world on the other side looked blindingly bright. Freedom, or at least the illusion of it. A gunshot cracked. His leg gave out. He fell hard into the dirt. When Carter looked up, he saw Hensley standing at the gate, shotgun still smoking, surrounded by agents and guards. "End of the line, Carter. You were never supposed to make it out." The world blurred around him. The sirens, the shouting, the flash of cameras. As he faded, the last thing he heard was McKenna's voice, distant but clear. "Get him patched up. He's still useful." Then darkness. But 3 months later, deep in a federal safe house, a classified report would quietly surface, with Carter's signature at the bottom and a single handwritten note. "The system's still dirty. You'll need me again." The sting wasn't over. It had only just begun.
The day the truth came out, Red River Prison didn't wake up to its usual clang of metal doors and guard chatter. Instead, the air felt heavier, quieter. By noon, unmarked black SUVs rolled through the gates. Federal agents in dark suits stepped out, their presence turning every guard's face pale. Inside the warden's office, stacks of shredded documents lay half-burned in a trash can. But it was too late. Agent Torres had already obtained the digital backups. The operation unfolded like a scene from a movie. Torres walked down the main corridor, flanked by federal marshals, past inmates peering through their cell bars. As she reached the control room, she looked directly at the shift commander and said in a steady voice, "Turn off the cameras. The Department of Justice is taking over." Word spread quickly. Guards whispered, some slipping away to take an early lunch, others pretending not to notice the agents escorting senior officers into interrogation rooms. By mid-afternoon, the warden himself, a man known for his calm arrogance, was in handcuffs, escorted out of the building as cameras clicked from the outside world for the first time in years. But Torres wasn't celebrating. There was one thing that still didn't add up: the missing body cam footage from the night the inmate, Marcus Lee, was found dead. According to the logs, the file had been corrupted. Yet when a forensic analyst ran a deep system recovery, they found fragments of that footage still buried in the hard drive. The screen flickered to life. At first, just a dark hallway. Then, 2 guards dragging Marcus, barely conscious, toward a storage room. One of them looked up directly into the lens before the recording cut out. That face belonged to Lieutenant Darrell Boone, the warden's right-hand man, and the one who had claimed to discover Marcus the next morning. The footage was all the DOJ needed. Within hours, Boone was arrested. Under questioning, he broke quickly, naming names, admitting to cover-ups, and revealing the real reason behind the inmate's murder. Marcus had secretly recorded a smuggling operation involving both guards and contractors. His evidence was supposed to go to a journalist. It never made it out of the prison.
Torres listened in silence as Boone confessed, her eyes fixed on the window beyond the interrogation room, the same one overlooking the courtyard where Marcus once walked. For months, she'd fought for this moment, but instead of victory, she felt only exhaustion. Justice had come, but too late for the man who tried to tell the truth. Weeks later, the Department of Justice released an official report confirming systemic corruption at Red River Prison. The warden, Boone, and 4 others were charged with conspiracy, obstruction, and homicide. But what the public never learned was that Torres received an anonymous envelope 2 days after the arrests. Inside was a USB drive. Its label read, "There's more you didn't see." The footage showed a new angle from another camera that hadn't been listed in any report. The same night Marcus died, someone else was in that room. Someone who never appeared in the warden's statements or Boone's confession. A figure in a plain uniform with a badge Torres didn't recognize. The screen faded to black before she could see the face. As Torres leaned back in her chair, the faint hum of the evidence room filled the silence. She glanced at the drive again, realizing what it meant. Red River's story wasn't over. And maybe, just maybe, someone still inside was making sure it never would be.